Hey, you remember that part where you're like, I'm not gonna play the game if that's you on there? You remember that? I remember that. Uh-huh.
What?
Hey, how's it going?
Hi.
Jason left. Yeah, he did. Enchantment table, huh?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, welcome back, Jason.
hello.
Hi.
Oh, she immediately came back right as I left.
There
Ah,
we go.
fuck this thing.
Hang on.
Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Why are we,
In this, I don't fucking know. I was working. I was loading a truck, and Jason's like, hey, how's it going? I'm like,
I
I'm
was
loading the
bored.
truck. I was like, I'm just working. He's like, oh. Yeah, pretty much. I want you to know, Jason, when I answered that call, I could have very easily, like, dropped my phone in 300-degree asphalt, and I was like, I'm gonna just sit down and be
It's
humble
fair.
or whatever. Eh. I like that we went through all the trouble of like, oh, hey, we're only gonna play this together, and then you're like, and then you're just like, yeah, no, I'm good. So Casey, how's life? Long time no speak. Yeah, pretty much.
It's been 5 minutes.
I mean, like, since the last time I talked to her was like when we were saying something about Prime, like, yeah, literally like something about Prime stalking her or something. That's all I
Wait,
remember.
what?
You remember?
Prime is stalking people again.
He was a long time ago. That was the last time I talked to Casey, I think. Then Taylor told her to make him a sandwich. That's all I remember. It's been a long time. Yeah, because I have work unlike most people.
What's that like?
It's awful. I hate it. I hate every minute. I swapped to my 9 to 5s though. That'll be nice. Starting Monday. That'll be sweet. I don't have to worry about it. So I heard something about Canadian Hitler. What was that all about?
Oh. Okay. Are you ready for the story?
Sure.
So, they've been calling me Canadian Hitler because I have this belief that people over the age of like 80 to 85 should die.
Oh, well, statistically speaking, they all will.
Well, I mean, like as like as soon as they turn that age of 80, send them to camps and kill them.
I mean, like, I guess I get it, but also, like, what would your cutoff logic be? Like, why specifically 80 instead of 79? I know,
Because
like, I know an 85-year-old that is in better shape than a 65-year-old. Why would we kill every 80-year-old? Is there some certain criteria? Do you have to pass a physical exam? Like, I want to know the logistics of this.
yeah. So, well, the reason why I decided probably around the 80 to 85 range is because once you get around that age, you start to decline in your health because your body, you can only live for so much longer and you only have like less than 10 years anyway, right?
On average.
Possibly less depending on your health, right?
Also possibly more.
There's but yeah. So I work at a hospital, so I see a lot of old people. The majority of people who are in
Well,
the
I feel your sample size is skewed because you work in a hospital. Like, if I worked at like a fucking, gym, I'd see a lot of 80-year-olds that are in great shape.
Mm-hmm. But just in general, there's a lot of people who are over the age of 80 that require a lot of health care and around the clock care. And that puts in a lot of, they're not working. They're getting money from the government. They are.
Here we go again. I zoned out for like 5 minutes. It's happening.
I'm explaining why I'm Canadian Hitler.
Okay.
So people around that age are basically just freeloaders of the government when the rest of us have to work and we basically get shat on by the government, right? And
So I get it. I don't know about Canada, but in the States here, when you work, you get taxes automatically taken out of your paycheck. Not like your standard taxes, what's called a Social Security tax. That tax is money that is put into a fund that when you're at that age and can't work anymore, that's what they use to fund your living. I don't know about
yeah,
eventually, but because the
Yeah,
yeah,
that's running
government's
out.
using it the wrong way. If the government was using it the right way, it wouldn't
because
be an
there's
issue.
too many old people, dude.
No, the government taps into it every single year.
Yeah, they
When
tap into
so
it.
when they can't find a budget or something, the president will tap into that and use that money to cover his budget. If it was only used for old people, it would never run out. Because and I get it, but your
Yeah,
logic would
but
work if you'd be like,
yeah.
only people who have put into the Social Security should be
But
able
here's
to
the thing.
tap into that
Here's the
money.
thing. Like the problem is a lot of people retire at probably around in their 60s, right? So then their 70s, 80s, and
So I
possibly
don't.
their
Again,
90s.
I'm not one on Canadian policy, but here in the States, depending on the year you were born, you can legally retire. For example, my parents could retire at 65, though because I was born in 98, I can't retire until I'm 76. So it just
Yeah.
depends. It depends on what age you were
But
born. What
yeah,
age you were born. No, what year you were born.
The
you,
age
it's
you were born. I was born at the age of 27.
0.
yeah. But listen,
Listen.
just
Listen,
shut up and let me explain. But come around the age of 80 to 85, a lot of the health starts to decline. And then at that point, you're filling up hospital beds to people who need it. You are put on priority care because I have seen people, there are people who I see with children or who are like around the age of like 20 to 30 who need like heart transplants, who need like lung or liver transplants or whatever, right? And they're put on a list because they don't have any matches available.
Yeah.
An older person is put on that is put on priority to that person. So it's like they have two people who are both a match for this one kidney. One's like a person who's 80, one's a person who's younger, right? Probably maybe mid 30s, mid 20s, whatever. That older person is going to be put on priority because, oh, they're not going to live as long. So then why give them the kidney?
So again,
If they're just gonna if they're
I don't know
just
how
going to
Canada works.
die, like
As
listen,
a
if they're
man,
just gonna die in like 5 years due to complications of their health because their body is dying, because the body can only live probably a couple extra years after that, what's the point? Give it to the younger person. Why are we like why that doesn't make any sense to me. And the problem is a lot of older people are going into politics. And that's what's wrong because they're pushing the dynamic from when they were a kid and what they thought worked great to into a new society that doesn't agree with that. But they're putting those older people into power and not people who have better ideas, who aren't, racist fucks.
I feel like that is a little bit of a jump to be like, well, they're putting old people in politics, so we should just execute them instead.
people. Okay. All right. So again, I can only speak for here in the States.
And
But
don't
here in the States, you are
Oh.
put on that organ list or whatever, but it's not prioritized by age or first come, first serve. It's prioritized by whoever has the least amount of risks associated. For example, if two people of the same age, same height, same weight, same health problem, both were put on a list, and one of them was a smoker and one wasn't, the one who wasn't a smoker will get the kidney because they have a lower risk factor. Now, I don't know how Canada works, and maybe it's just a Canada thing, but here, it's typically if you're over a certain age, they won't even put you on a list unless you pay
Good.
them a stupid amount of money.
But
And to the old people in politics thing, I think it's a little bit of a jump to say all old people should die because a bunch of old racist fucks are in the office. Again, I don't know much about Canadian politics, but I can tell you here, It's always been a bunch of outdated old assholes who
I
have no
know.
ideology. It's always been like that. That's not the founding fathers were a
That's
bunch
just
of old racist fucks. That's just how
that's
it is.
yeah. But
And there's nothing
that's
our
just
generation
one
can really
reason.
do about it.
That's just one reason.
Like,
So, listen, so
yeah,
Canada has now become the most expensive place to live
uh-huh.
in the world. And the reason that is because
Didn't we find out that that was not true?
Technically,
it's one of
Denmark,
like the housing crisis in Canada is
Uh-huh.
insane. There's
not
I
for
don't
real.
it's you can get there how
Not
many
for real.
places is it? I think it was like Toronto, but you could get a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom house.
Yeah.
It's a small little crack house for over $1 million.
Uh-huh.
And the
So my question is,
economy
are you
is
chalking the housing crisis up to a bunch of old people?
I'm chalking out the economy to a bunch of old people.
Okay, so
And the crisis of the climate change.
there are monsters nearby, so I can't rest. Okay, so I'll give you climate
But
change is really caused by old people. Um, Here's the thing though, the economy is a very complicated and complex system that has a lot of things. Now, the primary thing in capitalism is what's called trickle-down economics, and basically it amounts to if you cut the taxes at the very top, that money will be used
It's a load of BS.
to help smaller people on the smaller chain, and then smaller and smaller, and it trickles down, and that spending goes back. Now, this system works as long as that money is put back into the communities and the wallets of other people. But what tends to happen is a bunch of old, rich, white dudes get together and be like, let's go into politics. Well, why would you want to go into politics? You can make a bunch of tax loopholes, and I don't have to pay the government anything. Well, are you going to use that money to help people? No, I'm going to line my pockets because
I'm gonna buy
75. I'm
a
already
yacht.
75, and this money won't go anywhere with me, but I'm going to keep it anyway.
Mhm.
For example, I work for a multi-billion-dollar organization that is very much not helping with climate change, considering I work in hot oil. And they're instead of Christmas bonuses this year, they're having us donate to a charity. They will donate $25,000 to whatever charity our local communities want, but it has to be a specific type of charity. And it has to
I'll be
be,
back again.
and then you need a certain percentage of that money to be donated to certain things, or at least 60%. The reason for that is, as a tax write-off, it has to be a WR6 charity, and 60% of the money has to go to the cause and not the thing. They're specifically doing this so they can write it off. Now, the way tax write-offs for charitable donations do, you don't pay taxes on your gross. You only pay taxes on your profit. So if you can make it look like you didn't make any money, then you don't have to pay taxes. So what they do is they donate a bunch of money, they do these charitable roundups or whatever, and they do that to reduce their total income to make it look like they took a loss, so they don't have to pay taxes on what they really took. And because of this, you end up fucking the economy. Now, I wouldn't necessarily chalk up the entire economic situation to a bunch of old rich white dudes fucking everybody else over. I'd call it more like the system of capitalism is inherently flawed in the first place, but then again, so is every other system. The best way to solve these sorts of issues is to look at a different way. Instead of something like trickle down economics, and our generation is the first one that actually has a chance of changing things, but our generation is too busy trying to decide if they relate to a pickle more than a dog. But that's not the point. Um, the problem is the people who make the rules are the people who are expected to follow the rules, and if you've ever played Monopoly, that doesn't go very well.
But
So you can fix the economy in the situation we're in. There are several ways to do it, other than killing a bunch of old people. Uh, primarily, primarily, instead of increasing minimum wage or whatever, you increase infrastructure funding. You take all that money from, the world's largest funded government and the world's largest military, take some of that money and you invest it into roads and infrastructure and subsidies for farmers and truck drivers to reduce the cost of goods. So that way business owners, specifically small businesses, can reduce the cost of their services and goods. And that indeed drops the price of things, increases land value by having people have more money to spend on the yard decorations, parks, investing in the community, etc., etc. Increasing land value means people's wealth goes up, and having the top 1% actually pay taxes. Now, all this sounds great, and it would work, definitely. Here's the problem, though. What sounds better? I will give you more money today in your pocket if you vote for me by increasing the minimum wage, or I have a 12-year plan that will drastically reduce the cost of living by at least 13% over the course of the next 10 years, but it's going to cost the government some money, and that might, in the short term, affect your taxes. Which one's going to get votes? You see the problem here?
The problem that I see is just old people don't think about that.
No, they do.
Just,
they just don't care.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be around to see it. So why do they care?
Exactly. And so that's the mentality that they all have. It's like, oh, well, you know, I'm not going to be around.
Systematically annihilating an entire part of a population.
Well, here's the thing. The world is already getting fairly overpopulated.
So your solution is systematically annihilate an entire age group.
Yeah. Because they don't do anything. Let me give you my personal reason. There's a personal reason behind this. All right. So I live with my 79-year-old Nana. Right?
Okay. Now I'll make this very clear. If anybody here understands what it's like to support somebody way older than you, and like
No. I don't support shit. She's earned herself a one-way ticket to the retirement home. I don't give a fucking shit about her. Listen. There's good reason why. Me and my mom both fucking hate her. And let me tell you why. So, all she does... Well, first of all, we didn't want her to move in with us. She just kind of dropped her bags on our door and said, I'm living with you. And my mom and dad said, okay, as long as you pay room and board, and you watch over you watch over Jess, who is mentally disabled. She has Down syndrome, so she's basically, like, probably around 6 years old. And you don't have to necessarily keep an eye on her, because all she'll do is just sit on an iPad or a computer or whatever. But you have to make sure that when she goes to make food, she doesn't, get a bunch of, like, pop or milk or whatever. You got to make sure she doesn't burn anything. And you got to make sure, she doesn't do anything bad, right? So I'm the one that ends up having to watch her anyway. Because my Nana, all she does is sit down in the basement in her little area that she uses. Nobody else can be in there. And watch TV super loud. And when I say super loud, I mean this is the surround sound, like 65-inch TV. And she has it up to like 78 all the time. And the lowest she takes it down is 60. That's the lowest she'll have it go.
Hey, Dippy,
she's not.
She's
not. She's not. Well, she says that she is, but she can obviously hear, perfectly fine when she wants to. And I tell her, well, because I was sleeping. I had to move rooms because of this woman. I would be in the room across from, like, the TV that she was watching, and my room would literally be shaking because of her TV. And every time there was a hockey game, you would hear her yell and scream. And I told her, can you not scream? Can you turn that down? I'm trying to sleep. Because I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning. Because I had to go to work for 5 a.m. Because I worked at 6. And my mom took me to work, and she wants to get to work at the fucking crack of dawn. Which I don't fucking understand. Anyway. So I told her, can you please not yell? I'm trying to sleep. And what does she do? She instead hits the wall. She throws things. That's what happened. So I ended up moving to a different room, which is now in the laundry room. And there's a gap under the door. Right? Which is fine. It's whatever. It doesn't really affect me until Nana decides that she wants to waste electricity. And every time she comes into a room, she turns on the light and she leaves. And she goes outside, then she has like 5 cigarettes, and then she comes back and she leaves the light on. And I'm trying to sleep during the day.